So, unconditional positive regard isn't a fixed state of being. It is an ongoing thing that we need to be reflective of in order to offer. We all have the capacity to judge, and I think it's important to acknowledge that we have that capacity. As much like empathy, much like self-awareness, if we have it fixed in our head that we don't judge, then that's going to result in us not being as reflective and not spotting when we actually are. With that in mind then, this self-awareness exercise is about exploring and becoming more aware of the judgments that we make. Here are actually two self-awareness exercises which I'm going to look at. There's this one and there's one after this. Both of these come from the book Learning and Being in Person-Centered Counselling, the 3rd edition, by Tony Merry and Sheila Hoare. I actually read a version of this on my Kindle and I couldn't work out what page number these exercises are on. They're back to back next to each other in the book. I could find out that they are 67% of the way through the book, so I've included that in case that's of any kind of use to anyone. So pull out a pen and paper or whatever you want to record your thoughts onto, and we'll look at the first one. Sometimes when we're quick to make judgments about others, we find that the things that we dislike in them are the things that we dislike in ourselves. When you find yourself being judgmental, ask yourself, what is it about this person that reminds me of things I dislike in myself? This process of seeing in others elements of ourselves is called projection. Now, write down a list of people you dislike or feel wary of. They could be people you personally know or a celebrity or whatever you like. Next to the name, write down the things about them that you dislike or make you feel uncomfortable. Now, once you've done this, consider the ways in which you might also have these characteristics. If you don't like that one though, you can do this one instead, or if you want to be like mega self-aware, you can do both. This one is from the same book, but 68% of the way through. Sometimes we find ourselves disliking particular kinds of people, although rationally there seems to be no good reason why this should be so. It may be that some people remind us in some way of unhappy experiences we once had, and those experiences can get re-stimulated without us being aware of it. Aims of the exercise: to bring some of the past into the present and to become aware of how we might relate to people today based on past experiences. Think of groups of people you dislike and write down the things about them you imagine to be so dislikable. Any group, any category, any label that you can think of. It doesn't matter, anything that comes to mind. So an example here could be police officers because they're too powerful and authoritarian, doctors because they never listen to what you say. Now either write down or recount to a partner or group whatever you can recall from your past experiences with these people. Take it in turns if you're going to do it with someone else to explore incidents, memories, vague impressions and more vivid memories. Concentrate especially on what you felt while these things were taking place and notice how far you have extended characteristics that might have been true about an individual person to include the whole group that they represent. Usually now I would go into how I've engaged with these reflective activities, although with this one and the one on empathy as well, I found it a little bit more personal and I've been less comfortable doing it. The empathy one partly just because it goes into my own stuff in a bit more detail that I'm comfortable with, and this one I'm not sure if I can really do it in a way that might not make some people uncomfortable if they're a client of mine or a previous client of mine. I am aware of certain judgments that I make. I often make judgments not so much about people I actually meet. I am most judgmental, I feel, towards people that I've never met in my life. Usually, I don't know, people that I read about in the news or watch on TV, people I have no real deep understanding of. I notice that I have a tendency to fill in the gaps and make judgments about who they are and why they're like that. And for me personally, it makes me not want to read the news as much or spend time engaging with people that I have no real relationship with. But that's just me. Maybe that's just my stuff.